Throughout its history, Notre Dame athletics has inspired men and women onward to victory in the game of life, often despite tremendous odds against them. These journeys have manifested themselves in a variety of physical, mental, and spiritual forms, but one element binds them together: persistence fueled by the spirit of Notre Dame. We will fight in every game, strong of heart and true to her name.
So this May 2014, my mom and I were in South Bend because my lacrosse team was playing in the Sweet 16 here. And I got my wisdom teeth out on Monday, and I was heading home because we lost the Sweet 16, unfortunately. And instead of heading home, we got a phone call, and we were rerouted because we had heard the news that my eldest sister, Victoria, who was 26 at the time, had been killed by her ex-boyfriend. But there's so much good in the world, and that's what I want to focus on.
You look burping. You don't even want to hear the book, do you?
Hey, girlfriend.
Stop burping.
Never. She's reading me books. She's bringing me donuts. The sprinkles on it.
So I met Bobby last year in the fall, and one of the first times I met him, I actually went to his treatment, and he was getting a spinal tap that morning. And not only was he getting a spinal tap, he was also getting his chemotherapy treatment. We had a fall ball game later that night, and it was so cold. And I had told his father about it, and I said, you guys don't need to come. I totally understand if he's wiped out or tired, but you're more than welcome to come. I saw him later that evening, and he was running around the field, jumping up and down, making me chase him. So going to treatment with Bobby, it never seems like I'm in a hospital or I'm at treatment. It's just kind of a play date. We're playing games, we're playing bingo together, we're laughing. He's telling me about school, he's telling me about his friends, he's telling me about what he's interested in. It's like a little date, basically. I guess we're like a brother and sister. He probably sees us like as boyfriend, girlfriend right now, but I think it's a relationship that will last as like a brother-sister bond. And I don't know how much I've given to him, but I know how much he's given to me. I think that's something I've learned in my mourning process, is that you need to remember your loved ones for all the good, the bad, and the ugly that they had. I don't want to make a shrine of my sister and create her into this perfect human being and remember her like that, because that wasn't her. She had so many strengths, but we also had weaknesses like everyone does, and she was my sister, so we bickered and we fought, and I was annoying and she was annoying, and I mean, we were 6 years apart, so I was the really annoying little sister, but she also was incredibly proud of me, incredibly supportive, was such a good role model, really set the way for me and my sister. I had just gotten my wisdom teeth out, so I was really swollen, looked like a chipmunk. I was on medication, and I had set my alarm for the middle of the night to wake up and take my pain medicine so you could stay on the schedule. And I had heard an alarm going off. So I thought it was my alarm going off. It wasn't, and it kept ringing, and then my mother and I realized that it was actually her phone ringing, and across the screen was one of my sister's best friends. My mom was so confused, and all I could hear her saying was, "What are you saying? What are you saying? What's going on? What's going on?" My first reaction was like she was lost, or like something had happened, a guy was being mean to her. I did not ever think that his phone call was gonna be saying that she was gone. So it was one of those things where I was just like, this is a nightmare. And I just was like, I'm gonna wake up and this will be a joke. I didn't know what to do at first. The first people I thought of telling was my teammates, my grade. So I'm one of 10. My class is a pretty big class, but I am so thankful for that class. Within 10 minutes, my coaching staff was in the lobby of the hotel, and my teammates who were still on campus were in the hotel. And we were all just sitting together. And I remember talking to my mom, And it was just a blessing in disguise that we were on campus, hearing that news. We just knew everything was gonna be okay. And at a time where I felt so broken, a part of me felt so whole at the same time. And it was like this weird out-of-body experience. And so I'm forever thankful for Notre Dame just because it's filled with so many people who refused to let me fall apart. My family decided to have an open casket for my sister. We wanted people to know we are not afraid, and she put up a fight to stay alive. And my sister was beautiful, never wore makeup, like beat to her own drum, so cool though. And I remember looking down, and she just looked like this doll, like this tiny person in this bed. And they had put makeup all over her because she was bruised all around her cheekbone and her forehead, and her neck was swollen, like just oozing out, and her face was just so fat. And my first reaction was that I wanted to laugh. And I was like, I just felt disgusted by myself. But the person who was laying down was not my sister. So it was a whirlwind back home, and then I was headed back to school, which is where I needed to be. And I had set up to go bowling with Bobby. Like the third day I was back in South Bend. And that was so cool. I remember walking through the door and him just running and jumping on me. And it just was like a breath of fresh air. I just let out a huge sigh, and I just embraced him. I was so happy that he's still here and that I still have time with him. I'm thankful I can move my legs. I'm thankful I can play lacrosse. I'm thankful I can go to this amazing university. I'm thankful for all these friends, all this support. I'm thankful for all of it. And that was something that with him, I had an amazing perspective because I saw what he was going through, and he knew no different. He had gone through 3 years of chemotherapy, and that was his life, half his life. I was like, that's incredible. So for me, it was always something that being around him just made my life, everything just fit together, be in the right place. So being able to come back when I was so confused on where to put everything in my life, because a huge chunk of it was taken out, and everything had to change. I looked to him to be that dependable, consistent breath of fresh air and that light. So for me to see him is for me to see him was just like everything I needed and more. And he will always be that to me. We were actually all fortunate enough to be able to speak at my sister's funeral. I think it was what we needed to do as part of our healing process. So at the end of my father's speech, he talked about how everyone who touched our lives, or everyone who was touched by Victoria, was indicted into this new club he was calling Friends of Victoria. By the time we got home, someone had dropped off these bumper stickers, these FOV bumper stickers in green. And what's been really cool is in the months after her passing, we have spread these bumper stickers all over the world. So I'll see them all over the parking lot in D6 at Notre Dame, or I'll get stories still from people who are driving in Boston back home and they're stuck in traffic and they're like, I'm miserable, and then they see an FOV sticker and everything's just like 10 times better. So it's really cool to hear those stories. It's one of those things that just make you smile. Some days it makes me cry. I think there are a million great people out there that I'm still waiting to meet. Just because there's one bad person in my life doesn't change my outlook or my ability to give love and get love and be loved. And my sister was just such a light, and she was just so loved and so good at loving. So every day I take a piece of her with me, and I can't wait to embody who she was in everything I do, and hopefully carry on her legacy that she left on this earth.